It is very easy to write off My Hero Academia as just a superhero show with nothing of substance. If that's what you want to get out of the series, then that's your prerogative. Everyone engages with art differently, and that is certainly what manga and all forms of media are. Art. Art, whether it be literature, music, or drawings, all reflect the period and society it was written in. One could say that art is a manifestation of culture itself, and just as deeply as culture influences art, art could also influence culture. What am I trying to say with all this? Art is reflective of society and culture, as if you took a snapshot in a moment of time. There is more or less no work of art that is devoid of this commentary. In this week's My Hero Academia video, we will be examining the series and how it views societal and cultural norms. In particular, we will be examining what Kohei Horikoshi might have to say about capitalism. An easy way to describe a hero in the world of My Hero Academia is to picture a famed sports player. Lots of mass media attention and wealth, but this time, they are government funded and wield superpowers and have the legal authority to enter your home and basically kill you. As early as chapter 1, we're introduced to the idea of the celebrity status of being a hero, or what is essentially the commodification of oneself. Heroes get paid by the government, the specifics of this being largely unknown, but what is known is that these are state-sponsored celebrities who are also superpowered cops, who are also fighting for leaderboard status. This leaderboard essentially acts as a state-sanctioned competition, being yet another way that the government is complicit in the celebrity status culture. Said culture and commercialization of being a hero is something almost immediately cast in a negative light by the narrative, whether it be through Mount Lady, who slowly turns into somebody who actually prioritizes the heroics of the job, as if the narrative is explicitly stating that this is the correct thing to do, or through Stain, who of course is absolutely insane, but still raises points and calls into question the role of the market in the occupation of hero. Heroism has been turned into its own brand, with massive billboards or product advertisements alongside the aforementioned government pay. This self-commodification essentially leads to what is known as the oversaturation of heroes. There are so many heroes that so many things get handled, which means you can get a hero job and essentially take the easy work or not even work as a hero, simply working to maintain your status as a public icon. Instead of heroics, the biggest part of being a hero is managing your image. This is drilled into you at an early age, even during hero schooling, where you are pit against other 15-year-olds to try and get sponsors for future hero work, as well as building that image you so desperately need as as a hero. We see pretty explicitly how Mei Hatsume is working to sell her products, and how the business course is talking about the students competing as if they're trading stock. The narrative regularly reinforces this obsession with self-image, not just with the sports festival, but with stuff like choosing an official hero name, coming up with a super move, recognizable in marketable costumes, and of course, the hero billboard chart. What is the point of being seen exactly? Well, the more popular you are, the higher you might be on the chart. The higher you are on the chart, the more brand deals you might get. The more brand deals, the more money. We previously saw Mount Lady exemplify this perfectly in chapter 1, as she waits for Kamui Woods to do most of the work before swooping in, one-shotting the villain, and posing for the cameras. And of course, we know she has a pretty decent rank, at least by season 4. It is entirely feasible that one could be decently ranked and paid without even doing any real or substantial hero work. To further focus on the prioritization of popularity and being seen, the way this system is structured would allow the more popular heroes to make more money, and would lead to heroes abandoning traditional heroism to instead chase the high of popularity and marketability. This leads to a self-fulfilling prophecy of sorts, as one would then expect would-be heroes to gravitate towards population centers to ensure that their heroic deeds get seen to increase their pay and fame, leading to massive swaths of the nation being underrepresented, as heroes do the bare minimum to ensure their pay stays the same. This is actually something explicitly shown in the Hawks backstory, as his very poor region had such little hero representation that Hawks had just assumed that they were cool TV characters, even in this world with an oversaturation of heroes. In sort of a grim reminder of this fact, Hawks' prized Endeavor plushie was only purchased for him because he was outpriced of having an All Might toy, further disenfranchising young Keigo from your average participant of Hero Society. At this point in the video, you might be wondering, what is trying to be said here? The idea of superhumans from lunchboxes coming to life to shatter your spine, and then go off to film a TV ad afterwards to make a quick bag, is something that's pretty absurd that often goes untalked about the series. This all feels like not only a very pointed criticism towards the concept of commercializing everything, but a criticism towards celebrity worship and the commercialization of oneself, of a single person, a person who is at the end of the day fallible and capable of mistakes. My Hero Academia is fairly explicit with this criticism of the idolization of people, even as early as the beginning of the series. There is always something somebody is hiding, something that they don't want you to see, even if it's something as simple as your true form, or in the case of Endeavor, your history of familial abuse and your traumatized children, or in the case of Hawks, the double life that you have to lead, or in the case of Nagant, the things that you've had to do to make sure the system stays up and running. All of these characters attempt to display a shiny and marketable face, all while hiding something else in their shadow. Let's imagine for a second that there was a US soldier who had a film glorifying his actions, or even dramatizing them for the sake of profit. Oh, that's just American Sniper. A possible side effect of this commodification and marketing of heroes is the disconnect between hero and civilian, between entertainer and the audience. The bystander effect that My Hero Academia regularly calls into question, like with, the backstory of one of the main antagonists, could be caused by this commercialization, as the average civilian views the world of their fellow man's struggles as all part of the show. Not in the sense that it's fake, but the idea that it's not that big of a deal and that a hero will come to help. Perhaps another thing MHA is trying to say is to take a more active role, help those in need, and don't leave it only up to those in power. The idea that everyone has heroism inside of them, a fairly explicit primary theme of the series. So maybe we shouldn't turn everything and everybody into a product, and maybe we shouldn't idolize people too much. Is that all MHA has to say? No, not at all. I've spoken this much without talking about the elephant in the room. The economic and societal disenfranchisement spoken about prior can have some stark effects. The marginalized population of both this world and the MHA world are oftentimes left with no other options. We are shown through Keigo's family a lesser end of that spectrum, petty villains working together to try and provide for their family and seeing the negative effects of that. There are far more extreme examples, people like Toga, who was born with a quirk that society had no infrastructure or even desire to handle, a quirk that is deemed socially unacceptable, almost as if she had been defiled. Ineffective court counseling, which seemingly acts as a stand-in on Japan's lacking mental health infrastructure, and the verbal abuse of her parents left her with nowhere she felt she could express her quirk, or, as the original Japanese translation of the word quirk states, her individuality. People like Twice, who lacked the mental health resources and had absolutely no safety net after his parents' death before being plunged into a crime-ridden and poverty-laced hellhole. Two people who were left to endlessly fall through the cracks of this superhuman society. Much like the real world, MHA takes an explicit stance on the lack of social safety nets and what happens to the people who society doesn't catch. The people who need infrastructure and do not receive the help that they need. Some people want a place to belong, a place where they are accepted and not treated as if they are defiled. Some people have nowhere else to go, and rather than live a life of poverty, turn to a life of crime to make ends meet. The life of a villain fairly accurately represents the material conditions or circumstances of a life of a criminal. If there are this many people falling through that society isn't catching, why aren't there any efforts to try and save them? Because, to put it simply, it isn't in the nation's best economic interests to save people. The Hero Public Safety Commission understood two key points. 1, trust in heroes was paramount to the system's success, and 2, having villains was the bedrock to that success. The status quo of hero society essentially facilitates the existence of these cracks, abandoning traditional heroism and justice to instead adopt a profit incentive. Villains exist so that they can be fined and their assets seized. You might stop me here and say, wow, this is an absolute stretch. Something like this would be unbelievable. But let's take a real-world example. The city of Chicago, Illinois, from 1996 to 2019, issued more than 54 million parking and vehicle compliance tickets. With 54.4 million tickets issued, $2.8 billion was paid to the city of Chicago, with another $1.8 billion being outstanding debt. Facilitating crime is quite the profitable industry, and who knows how much the police force and hero industry could make from seizing people's assets, something police here in the United States do through civil asset forfeiture. The Hero Public Safety Commission never tried to implement any legislation or reform to stop this kind of stuff, but instead relied on assassins to make the heroes who get caught doing this kind of thing disappear. Heroism is a multi-million, possibly multi-billion-dollar industry. To suddenly fill the cracks is to suddenly deny the state with millions in revenue. The HPSC understood their role well, and in an explicit example, the president asked Nagant to assassinate 2 heroes who were inciting ordinary civilians to commit crimes so that they could take them out to claim wealth and fortune. There wasn't imprisonment, an investigation, or any preventative work. Instead, they were asked to be killed by Nagant, and when pressed as to why, the president stated that it was all to facilitate and preserve hope in the system. Redestro is a character who quite accurately diagnosed this issue within hero society. He feels that people feel the need to fit into a very specific mold, and that villainy is an escape that many outcasts turn to because they have no other option. Much like Stain, however, his method of attempting to solve this issue is misguided, to be charitable, as Getten offers their true solution without any political spin, a world of liberation where the strong rule over the weak, and Redestro demonstrates this by quite literally submitting to Shigaraki because he is more powerful and fits this true fascist ideology. You could even go further and say that this is Hori commenting on the rise of fascism in terms of economic duress, but that would be a whole thing, so I will refrain for now. So I ask again, What is My Hero Academia trying to say? The system we live under isn't cutting it. Commercializing and placing an economic incentive behind everything leads to a further divide between the wealthy and the average citizen. And the way the system is now, the government profits off of the suffering it creates and begets more suffering. We should not hold fallible people up to these impossibly high standards and should do what we can to help the people in our community. Inequality is the very centerpiece of this series, whether it be social or economic inequality, and so much so is stated at the very beginning of My Hero Academia.
All men are not created equal.
At least, that is one person's interpretation of the text of My Hero Academia, and the reasons that I feel that way. If you disagree, then that's just the beauty of interpretive analysis, and it's just as valid as mine. I hope you at least thought it was interesting or see where I come from. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really wanted to try and increase the scope of my MHA analysis videos, so I thought this would be a pretty interesting first step. If you liked it, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe for the funny YouTube algorithm, and you can check the description below for my Twitter, where I am objectively correct all the time about everything, and you can also join my Discord down below, where we talk about My Hero Academia, Jujutsu Kaisen, ReZero, and stuff like that, and you can also get updates on videos and streams as they come. That's about it though. See ya.